Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Better Bid Calling Podcast. I, of course, am Joshua Houston, joined today by your brand spanking new 2024 Mule Day auction champion, Tucker Kale. Tucker, it's a pleasure, really, to have you on. I've wanted to have you on for a while. I've got a list on my phone of guests that I've wanted to have on, but since we do this once a month, they kind of get pushed back. But your name has been on that list for a long time. So my guess is that unless you have seen the TAA contest back last November or the Mule Day contest recently, you probably may not know who Tucker is. Tucker, you've competed in the TAA contest and Mule Day for years, but tell us a little bit about yourself, about your life now, what life is like for you, and we'll get into the auction stuff here in just a minute.
All right. Well, Josh, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's an honor to hold the Mule Day title as well as the Tennessee Auctioneers Association Championship. You know as well as anybody, you've held them both, man, and I hold you in pretty high regards. But I'm 29 years old. My wife and I, we started this auction company, Kail Auctions, about 2.5 years ago. We have been married, Nisha and I, for we got married in 2018, so this will be 6 years for us, and we've got a little boy. He's 4, Cash, and he's the realm of our existence. That's why we run and go as much as we do. Cash keeps us pretty busy, but I work many different jobs. I sell real estate in town with Tennessee Real Estate Company. I'm also a full-time firefighter with the City of Paris Fire Department, and my wife, she juggles 2 or 3 different jobs, and as well as managing our auction company. And I've been an agriculture guy all my life. We've got cows and horses, and my wife and I still compete in rodeos, and just a lot going on. But we wouldn't trade it for nothing, man. We would. I don't know what we'd do if all the time we had is just to sit around and twiddle our thumbs.
That's right. It's funny. I've done a lot of interviews with a lot of different auctioneers on all different kinds of things, anything from livestock to benefit to car guys. But one thing that I think we all have in common is a lot of us like to have a lot of irons and a lot of fires.
Yeah,
and I think that's a good thing. It really is true. If you don't have multiple streams of income, you never know when your next sale is going to be. I don't want to say your last, but when it's going to lead to a dry spell and, there's not going to be anything coming in. And the last thing you want is for your stream of income to go away. So having those irons and those fires is a very important thing. Now, I want to narrow down on the auction side of your life for just a minute. When did you go to auction school?
Man, I would have to look at it. I believe it was the summer of 2014. Under Mr. Wendell and Mr. Essa Hansen, when they still had Nashville Auction School. Time slipped away. It was 2013, but I believe it was 2014. It could have been 13, though.
Okay. So you went to Nashville Auction School then?
Well, I sure did.
Tell me about your time there and what that was like.
Man, Nashville Auction School, I was 18, 19 years old. I grew up wanting to be an auctioneer. And of course, that's the first step is to getting into this business. So I had no idea what to expect. I really didn't know anybody in the auction business. And so when I packed up, I left a rodeo on a Friday night, it was a Saturday night in Savannah, Tennessee, and drove straight to Tullahoma, where it was located at the time. And we started there. And those 9 days that class went through was a whirlwind, man. And especially to a kid that was 18, 19 years old, I did not understand the importance of what that 9 days teaches you. And I do now. And it's kind of one of those things when you mature and you get a little bit older and you start a business, you don't realize the importance of what you're learning while you're there. And but we had great great part-time instructors that come in. They work with us on our bid call and talk to us about all the different types of auctions, from livestock to car auctions to high-end antiques, and it was a really cool experience.
Yeah. So you said that you grew up wanting to be an auctioneer, but you didn't have anyone in your family who was an auctioneer or anything like that?
The funny thing about it is I grew up wanting to be an auctioneer. My dad was actually an auctioneer. My
Okay.
granddad was an auctioneer. My granddad had an auction company way back in the day, and him and my dad, I don't think ever worked together. My dad passed away in March of 1999. And so I don't ever remember getting to hear him. They said that he used to take me to the horse sales with him when he would sell horses. But no, they both had their auctioneer's license, but they weren't as involved, I don't think, as we are. My granddad, I know, had a couple of real estate auctions and helped several people put on auctions. But as far as that time frame when I started, my granddad didn't have his business, and after I got out of auction school, I went almost a year before I could find anybody to sponsor me. And so it was a pretty tough little deal. But I grew up in stockyards. My mom would go drop me off at our local stockyard at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd have me $20 or $30, and it would be wild, some of the stuff that I brought home.
Yeah.
But that's where it all stemmed from.
Okay. So who did you wind up getting to sponsor you?
My man David Fisher with Fisher Realty and Auction out of Dyersburg, Tennessee. He took a chance on me. He didn't. I don't even know if he met me. I think we done everything. I mailed him everything he had to sign. He mailed it back to me. I mailed it back to the state. And the first time I met him, I actually showed up and worked an auction with him. He had knew my aunt, my dad's twin sister, and Anna Lane put in a good word for me, I guess. And he just took a chance on me, and I'm glad he did. I talked to him this morning. Me and him are still the best of friends, and he is a big mentor in my business and what I do today.
That's wonderful. Well, for our listeners who, because we have listeners all over the United States, so not every state has licensing laws the way Tennessee does, as you well know. So for those who are listening who are kind of new in the business, and you might be from a state that doesn't require licensing laws the way Tennessee does, at the time that we went, so you went in 2014, let's say, I went in 2012 for the preliminary, what do they call it? Not affiliate. What was it then?
I don't. Well, at the time it was. Apprentice auctioneer. That's right.
Yep. So at the time, you had to go to school for the 9-day course or however long, 80 hours, and then work for 2 years as an apprentice. Whether you got your points or not, you had to put in the time and get the points, work in every aspect of the auction. So you had to do the clerking, you had to do the cashiering, you had to do auction setup, you had to do bid calling, contract writing, and each one of those was a variation of points, and you turn your points into the state. And at that point, you go back and take a 30-hour course, take another state test, and then, Lord willing, get your actual auctioneer's license. Now, that has since changed since Tucker and I were going through the ringer with it. Now, in Tennessee, it's a 6-month affiliate program, or you get your points, whichever comes first. So let me ask, I've been kind of curious about this. I've asked a lot of people from a lot of different places their opinion on auction education. And I'm not saying that one's right or one's wrong, or I feel a certain way or don't. But I'm just curious because you're in it now. I mean, you're in the business, and your company is doing very well, if I do say so myself. It's nice to get on Facebook and see all the success that y'all are having. But you had told me before we got on, every company has its growing pains. So what did you think of your time in school, and what do you think should be required? Or maybe required isn't the right word, but what would, if somebody from the auction commission came to you and said, Tucker, we value your opinion, give us some pointers. What do you think needs to be in, or what we're doing good, what we need to add? What would you say to something like that?
Man, I'm going to say the biggest thing, if I would have had to, at 18 years old, when I come out of that school, I was smarter than I am right now, because we had all of that information crammed into our head, and we might not have known the application of it because we had never come across it. And that was even the thing over the 6 or 8 years that I was with David. I did not sink my teeth in and do every single aspect of going and riding with him and seeing how he traded for these auctions, watching him write the contracts and do. I mean, of course, I did do some of the contract writing and stuff, but it's amazing that when you get out of school and you do your apprenticeship and you think, well, I'm going to be a full-fledged auctioneer, as Leroy Van Dyke says, and you get out into the world. It's so, all the information that you need to know. Luckily, our industry and our peers are super good about helping each other, and so you can pick up the phone, you can call somebody, hey, I'm in a situation. What do we need to do? I've never run across this before. So if it was me and the auction commission come and ask me, what would you say different? I don't think 6 months is enough. I think somebody's got to get out here. They got to hustle, because at the end of the day, when you get your 6-month apprenticeship over, you may have been with your principal auctioneer each and every day. And if that was the case and you were in it and producing live auctions and doing online auctions and knowing what it entails and what it takes, I think you might be halfway ready. But it takes the auctions and the talking fast and doing a lot of it is just, it's 10% of it, man. At the end of the day, I want to do good business. I want folks in the community to look at myself, my wife, and our business and think, hey, man, those guys do really good business. They're transparent, they're honest, they carry all the integrity. And that is something that at 18 years old, I did not understand, or at 20 years old, I did not understand.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's one thing, because I look at guys who graduate from auction school from the 80-hour course and they go work their 6-month affiliate auctioneer, whatever the title is. I don't even know what the title is. And they're doing the deal, man. They really are. They are putting sales together. They're having live auctions. They're doing really good, and they're learning by doing, of course, and that's a wonderful thing. And then there are others who, they might show up. They might, and I don't have any room to talk because I'm a contract auctioneer. That's what I get paid to do, is to show up and call bids. Right? But I'm with you. I think that the best way to learn is to do. I certainly believe that. And I also believe that you need as much education as you possibly can get. And so I know a lot of people, well, it's for a lot of different states, not just Tennessee, the commissions require continuing education. And a lot of people throw a fit about that and say,
right,
just, the state's way of getting money. Well, maybe so in some cases. But it's also the case that you're going to learn something from that continuing education that will help you grow your business, especially as business is changing. So let me ask you this, Tucker, because y'all are in the business. Y'all been in the business now, hot and heavy, let's say, for 2 years. You've been in the business longer than that, but your actual company has been around for about 2 years. You came in right at a time when, in my opinion, the greatest changes in the auction industry are taking place. So tell us a little bit about how you have balanced that and what approach you guys are taking to an ever-changing auction industry.
The greatest changes that are coming into this industry, one of the biggest things that I see is from the traditional show up on Saturday morning, pull everything out of the house, and have a live auction, get it all gone. That's, to me, that's gone by the wayside. It's if it happens, it doesn't need to, because there are so many more ways that you can market those assets. Right now, we've got an online auction going on with more Barbie dolls and more porcelain dolls than I've ever seen in my life. I'm not a doll man. I don't know a thing about them, but we have researched and we have tried to target where we market. The biggest thing with that is the offering of online auctions. And with that being said, what we do is we go in and assess. We see what assets that folks wanting to sell, or folks are having to sell, and we try to make the best option for them, whether that be to set up and have a live auction, or to go in and market those items at an online auction. And you know as well as I do, all the big talk in the National Association of Realtors, what's fixing to happen on your splits and stuff like that. And I seen an article that they posted in Nashville about this brand new technology coming out to market real estate, and it's not. It's the auction method of marketing. Mm-hmm. And I've actually talked to realtors in our area, because if anybody hears the word auction for a piece of property, they'll, oh, well, they've got to give it away. It's whatever. But to me, and you've said it, everybody in our business say it, the most high-end assets are sold at auction. And when it comes to real estate, I don't like doing a lot of paperwork. I don't want to sift through 6 highest and best offers when it comes down to a really nice piece of property. Hey, let's market this house. Let's get it out there. And let's get all these 6 people or 10 people or 20 people together in one day and let them hash it out, and it's changing every day. And I don't know if I will know what it looked like a year from now or 2 years from now. But if you would ask me 2 years ago when we started this business, if we were going to be having 2 to 3 online auctions a month, I would have said absolutely not. Man, I was going to be a live auction man, and that was it. But you just kind of gotta go with the waves on this.
Yeah, I agree. I really do. It's interesting how things are changing, but I have to repent in prayer and fasting for something that I said on this podcast not too long ago. Yeah. I said that I see the live auction method going to the wayside, which is what everybody else had said. If you don't believe that, you need to check yourself, because it's getting that way. And even if you have a live bid caller, you're still doing simulcast or, something like that. Somehow technology is involved. However, I have witnessed in the past week 2 real estate sales that were sold live bid calling method of auction marketing with no simulcast that brought well over $1 million. And
oh, yeah.
I'm not so sure that the property was worth well over $1 million, but it brought well over $1 million. And of course, the real estate market now is absolutely insane. But
it is.
I think the live method is going to have a place. So I repent for the things that I said. I think it's going to be with us for a while.
I don't think the live method or the live auction method of marketing will ever go away. I think in certain instances you've got to have the online options.
Right.
And like I said, 5 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. You can get out here, you can print your flyers, you can put your signs up and put you a post on Facebook, but that's just not the case anymore, man. Mm-hmm. You've got to get it out there so much farther. And to me, when I sit down and we sign a contract with a client, I want to make sure that everybody that is looking for a Barbie doll, a house on 20 acres, they know about it. And so to me, that's where the online portion of it comes in the biggest. We had our first annual equipment auction here the end of March, and we didn't know what to expect, man. We were blown away at the turnout of consignments that we got, and blown away by the crowd. But I decided 3 weeks before that auction, hey, we're gonna have online bidding through Equipment Facts, because it just, I felt like we needed it, and it made a big difference. But at the end of the day, 80% of the stuff we sold to the crowd right there that was with us,
Yeah. Yeah. So with your equipment sale, was it farm equipment or construction equipment or both?
It was a little bit of both, man.
Okay.
It was a little bit of both. Tell you a funny story on that. Actually, we started out. It was going to be a farm equipment consignment auction. Um, had lots of good pieces consigned. We did have several pieces of construction equipment, but I had a gentleman come in on Monday morning. Had quite a bit of items already early consigned, um, but I did not know he was bringing anything. And he said, I've got a rock screening meal that I would like to bring up here. And I said, okay. He said, is that okay? And I said, well, yeah. I said, will that telehandler unload it? And he said, no. And I said, well, you probably don't need to bring it. And he said, no, man, you don't understand. It's a rock screening machine. You take to a gravel mine, you hook to it with a semi and bring it up here, no problem. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've never even seen one of these things, nor do I. And I said, I don't know. I said, bring it up here. We can try. And but it goes to show I had a week to advertise it. And if you'd asked me 5 years ago if I ever thought I would sell a rock screening mill, absolutely not. No, sir. But I had a week to advertise it and get it out there. And we end up selling that one piece of odd equipment that, you know, I've never would have dreamed in my life we could have got the deal done on that. But that just goes,
it's sold.
yeah, that just goes to show that with advertising and getting stuff out there, you can, the internet and all the possibilities can make it worthwhile, you know.
Do you remember if you had a live bidder buy
We
it?
did.
Did you have
We had a live
facts or
we
live?
had a we had a live bidder on it, and then we had also a couple of online as well.
Wow. So tomorrow, funny we're talking about this. We're recording this on a Tuesday. Tomorrow, I'll be in Lebanon with Daniel and Nicole Pruitt selling heavy equipment and farm equipment for them for TriStar.
Yeah.
But to your point, we do everything, or I say we, they do everything live simulcast. So myself, Jess Stansberry, Tom Riles, we're in a studio with 3 TV screens, and we see the screens flashing when people bid, and that's it. We're selling things that are located in Georgia, Kentucky, um, Oklahoma, and then obviously Tennessee. And it's really interesting how the internet has brought all this stuff together, which is it's really interesting.
Right.
Something that I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to grow. Tucker, let's talk about your bid calling for a few minutes, since this is the Better Bid Calling podcast.
Okay.
You've got 2 titles under your belt, and you may have more than that I'm not aware of, but I know at least of TAA and Mule Day. So my guess is you're probably like me, where when you graduated from auction school, you had a chant, you had a workable chant, but the chant you had then, 10 plus years ago, is not the chant that you have now. So how
No,
has
sir.
your chant developed over these years? What have you done? What changes have you made to make your chant what it is?
Man, and folks ask me all the time, what do you say? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's muscle memory, man. I've trained my tongue; it works, but I can slow it down. I can go through and kind of call off and sell something, and I can tell you exactly what I say. But it's amazing how it changes from day to day. We're going to be having a real estate auction on May the 4th. My chant will not be the same as it will be tomorrow in Trenton, Tennessee at the livestock auction.
Mm-hmm.
And it won't be the same as an equipment sale on a Saturday. To me, my auction chant changes as to who my audience is. If I am at a benefit auction and we're trying to raise money to maybe folks that are not big auction goers, we go slow, we smile, we have fun, and they've got to know what you're asking for the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it has changed, and I've listened to guys just since I can remember. I've listened to guys, John Corey, Ralph Wade, and like that was why I wanted to be an auctioneer. If I could sell 5 cow sales a week and not do nothing else, that'd be it. But that was what I really targeted after. And now listening to guys like you're as crisp and as smooth and as polished as anybody, and I'm not. I feel like I'm a little bit of the opposite. But to me, in anybody's bid calling chant, the the most important aspect of it to me is your clarity, because if folks do not understand what you're saying, they will not raise their hand. And that's just kind of how I've based mine on,
Yeah, I agree 100%. David Whitaker told me years ago, smooth is fast.
That's right.
And Shane McCarroll tells me all the time, speed is an illusion.
It
So
is.
I love that. I love that. Um, let me we'll talk about TAA, the contest back in November in just a minute. I want to start with Mule Day though, because it's fresh on my mind. It's probably fresh on your mind. I want you to, if you will, walk us through that day. You wake up in the morning. Did you drive down and stay the night in a hotel, or did you drive the whole way? Um, why did you choose the items that you chose, and what was the process like? Just give us the rundown of the day, and all the way up to the very end, and then I'll give my thoughts about it.
Okay. Well, man, that morning I got up. I actually got off work at the fire department at 7:00 and shagtailed to Columbia. That was I had got my items earlier the week before, and let's see, I think it was a box of cast iron skillets. And to me, everybody likes that. I know I would. And usually I try to kind of, wherever we're going, if we're going to the TAA contest, I try to get a little bit different items, but we're going to Mule Day. Everybody loves cast iron. And then I had a case knife. You cannot go to an auction contest and not take a case knife. It seems like, I think there was probably 100 sold that day. And then my last item was an Orca cooler, who I got from you. You got to take something that's going to, you got to take something that's going to bring a little bit of money so you can showcase. If you take two $50 items, that is just fine. But you've got to take something that is going to allow you to showcase your range, showcase what you can do. And to me, something like an Orca cooler that's going to bring $200 or $300 is the best way to do that.
Yeah.
And then,
well, let me say something real quick before you keep going. I'm going to tell y'all can disagree with me. I started the trend of the cooler and the cast
you did.
iron.
You did it.
I took one every year, and nobody else did until after I won. And now everybody, I think we bought Lodge out of cast iron skillets this past round. I bet 50 cast iron skillets in that crowd.
I promise you.
Yep. Keep going.
I promise you. But man, and I got down there. I was running late. I got backed up in traffic, and I think I pulled in. Yeah, everybody was supposed to be there at 10. I think I got there at like 9:45, and I'm bad punctual. I like to be early, and having a family and livestock and everything. Usually we're not. Usually our cows are out if we're in a big hurry or something. But I got down there, and that contest is very special to me, just for the main reason, the hard work that those guys put into it, the production that they make it. And I love, more than anything, just coming and getting the camaraderie and hang out with all of our buddies. I may not have seen them in a year. And so I was just super excited to be there. And we have our meeting, we draw, and it was weird this year to me. Usually I get very nervous, and it's, the contests do that to you, even though it's something that you do day in and day out. But it's something about standing in a room full of your peers and having four guys sit down there, and they're marking down every single move that you make, and something about that, boy, is unnerving. But I remember when I walked up those steps back there, and to those that are watching that don't know about the Mule Day Auctioneer Championship, probably one of the coolest ones you'd go to, just as far as you hang out back in the sale office. When it's your time to go, you walk up the block same way as Jacob Massey does on Wednesdays at Columbia. And me and Daryl Alshire were standing back there talking, and we were talking about life, our family. And when I walked up there, I did not have one nerve going at all. Now, when I walked out, I could have went outside and puked, but I don't know. It was kind of a little serenity deal for me. I just felt at ease there, and it was pretty awesome. But I will say this year, after my preliminary round, I was not sure if I was going to make the top 10 because there was so much talent there. And then you throw in those rookies that just make you feel bad about yourself when you got a 16-year-old kid that can roll like those boys did. Man, that was awesome. And I hope they continue to do that. But I didn't know, I was very unsure. And then I was fortunate enough to make it back to the finals. I've never been number one on an auctioneer contest ever. So it's always a big hoax. Folks really want to be first or they want to be last. There's nobody wants to be in the middle really. And I didn't know what I felt about being number one in the finals at Mule Day. And I had about 5 minutes to prepare. And I thought, man, you know what? We're just gonna go with it. I went down there. I used the pen that the Duck River Woodworking Club made, and I wrote down my notes. And it was just one of those things. I have a hard time putting on and being more than what I am. I try to be a pretty authentic person and a very, very level person, even when I'm at those competitions. And in some instances, I think it hurts. I hurt myself in that manner, but I'd rather be me and sell that sale just like I would if we were having our own auction production, And I think it's took 2-3 years in being our own business to kind of get to that point to where I'm comfortable in those situations.
Well, how did it feel when your name was called?
Man, my name wasn't called. They called Will Gregory's name.
Yeah.
Man, I was on the verge of tears because I was, like I said, I was expecting to hear my name in the finalists. And as they were walking through there, I thought, this is wild. I've finished third at Mule Day. That was as high as I've ever finished. And I know a couple of years ago, and some of the same tough competitors that were there this year, I didn't even make the finals. And that it's a humbling experience because you go in there and you try your best, and even though it may be your best or it may not be, I would always rush and I would get jumbled up. But until I just realized, like you said earlier, slow is fast. Just slow down and do your deal. And until I realized that, I don't think I would have been where we were that Friday if you don't just kind of slow down and do. But when they called Will Gregory's name, I was on the verge of tears, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not an emotional person. You can ask my wife. I'm not at all. But I like to have to swell up and turn around there for a minute because it's an honor to me. And it's not the biggest auction contest in the world, but something about that barn and something about those people that put that on, man, make it absolutely special.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that about it not being the biggest contest in the world. It's not. Entry fee is $40. Payout is, I think, for first around $1,000, something like that. In the grand scheme of these $10,000 and $15,000 and $20,000 contests, it's not that much. But what's funny to me is when I won, everybody pat your back, and then you'll figure this out, Tucker. You'll get invited to speak places. You'll get invited to judge contests, and you need to because you are certainly qualified to do those things. And then people act like Mule Day is a podunk contest, like a county fair that doesn't even matter, and how dare you be the one to be invited to do these things. So to me, a victory is special, and it's not so much the victory that matters, but how you handle it that makes you the champion. And I'm proud of you for doing that. So let me kind of share with you what happened the year I won, and then what it was like for me as a judge for this contest for that you just won. So the year that I won, you and I could have had the same story. I did my preliminary round. I felt terrible about it. I even went out to my car and called my mom. I'm not an emotional person either, but I was like, well, that was it. That sucked. I'm done. And they called me back for the finals. And same thing, they just kept not calling my name in the top 10. And when Chris Bernard's name was called for second place, I could have cried. I mean, seriously, it's a feeling like none other. Now, from the perspective of a judge, you are 100% right in that you have to do your deal, and I think the key word there is your.
That's right.
You can't be anybody but yourself.
That's right.
I don't know. I don't know if you knew any of the other judges. I had competed in the Mule Day contest for 5 years. I knew 99% of the guys that were there. And I've gotten to travel and speak at associations. And so even the guys that I hadn't competed against at Mule Day, I still knew from other places.
Right.
And so the hardest thing in the world in auction contests is judging your friends. And everybody there was a friend of mine. I mean, even the guys that I didn't know, they got to be my friends that day. And I'm glad for that. But it's a hard thing to judge your friends. And so at the end of the day, I had to just sit down and say, what I'm looking for as a judge, because there's a place on that Mule Day scorecard that I bet 80 to 85% of people ignore. And it's the section that says, would you hire this auctioneer? That's your tiebreaker too for the Mule Day contest.
Yeah.
And would you hire this auctioneer doesn't necessarily mean, is this auctioneer the best bid caller in the world? It means, would I send this guy to write contracts for me? Would I send this guy to a school to do career day? Would I want this guy to wear my logo out around the town? And I think everybody in that contest certainly fits that category. I would hire anybody in that contest. Seriously, anybody. But your bid calling ability was phenomenal, but the genuine nature that you brought to the stage, it was another day at the office for you. And so in some contests, that wouldn't work. So I'll give you an example.
Right.
In the IEC, that wouldn't work. The IEC, you better put on a show. And there were some guys there who did a phenomenal job for an IAC contest and would have killed it. But for the four of us, we were looking for someone that we could stand to listen to for a 5 or 6 hour sale, who we knew whose voice wouldn't go out after about 2 hours of selling, who had a rhythmic chant, but also had the ability to interact with the bidders and make them feel comfortable. And you fit that bill, certainly for me, and obviously for the other three judges that were there as well. I think there were some surprises in the top 5, just to be completely honest, as to how the numbers fell. But I'll tell you right now, Tucker, that contest last year, or this past one, 2024 Mule Day, was the toughest auction contest I have ever witnessed, and that includes the IAC.
Yeah.
Every single person could have made the top 5. The four of us were talking, 4 of us judges, we were like, flip a coin. I mean, we have no idea, really.
And that's exactly and the guys that I talked to after that in the weeks prior or after the contest, we thought the same thing, because at the end of the day, each one of us is our own worst critic. So after we go do our run and we go sit in the stands and we're like, golly, Bill, listen to this guy. Yeah. He is awesome. And it's just one of those things that, and just like you said, I try to be very genuine in everything I do, whether it be my work at the fire department or whatever, especially in our auction business. But you said that day it worked. Well, the very same competition next year, it may not.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, if the judges would write down on a piece of paper exactly what they're looking for and go stick it in the back and say, hey, guys, that's it. That's what you got to do. Well, then everybody would win, because you could – any auction professional can say, hey, I can do this, this, and this, and do that, And like I said, I was very, very fortunate, very blessed to make the top 10 in that competition. and two, to be named, because like you said, any one of them from the five that were in the finalists to the top five, we could have flip-flopped any given day of the week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a tough contest. Now, what I'm about to say, I don't want to discredit from the great job that you did, or anybody who's won a contest, but you are exactly right. You were the best in the eyes of 4 judges that day, and for those 4 judges, right?
That's right.
So I've got a lot of friends, and again, one thing that happened after I got done judging that contest, I didn't so much get out of the parking lot. My phone starts ringing. Hey man, what'd you think? What do I need to change? And what would you tell me to do different? And I'm like, look, another day with another set of judges, you might would have done differently.
Right.
It's all about those judges that day, and that's important for people to understand, because it's so easy to get so discouraged if you don't make the top 3, the top 5, or the top 10. Keep going. You'll find your set of judges. But I would also say, don't change who you are for the sake of a contest.
No.
Because at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
you're selling yourself.
That is a fact.
Yeah. Well, Tucker, let's talk about TAA for a minute, because TAA is it's a different ball game than Mule Day.
It is.
You at TAA, you had to do the interview portion. And TAA is an open contest to anyone who's listening. You don't even have to be a member of the association, but if you win, you get a free membership. So I would encourage you to maintain that if you ever get the chance. But they try to make the TAA bid calling contest as much like the IAC as humanly possible. We use a very similar IAC style scorecard. We get judges who have been IAC judges, and that's great. That's good. There used to be, if you won the TAA contest, TAA paid for you to go to the IAC. That hasn't happened in several years, but it used to be the case. All that to say, how is doing an interview in an auction contest different from something like the Mule Day? It's hard to prepare for.
It is, and I will just give you a quick history of my Tennessee Auctioneers Association contest. I went one time in 2018, 2017, 2018, and I competed, and it was unlike anything I'd ever been to. I'd never been to an auctioneer competition. I don't even think I'd been to Mule Day by that time. And so I remember I called somebody, and I was like, "Hey, what do you wear? I see these auction competitions. What do you wear?" I said, "Can I wear a cowboy hat and a sports coat and jeans?" And they said, "Absolutely not. Do not do that." And they said, "You need to go buy you a suit." So I'm a tightwad. I never wear a suit. I go to J.C. Penney's. I buy me a suit, and we go. And I don't even remember who was there. It was the year Jay Cash won it, I believe. And man, we got through the preliminaries, and I was fortunate enough to be called back to the finals. But when they asked me to answer those questions, I froze up like you couldn't imagine. I remember I looked at, I think Junior Staggs was asking the questions, and I looked over at him and I blinked about 4 times, and I was like, all right, I don't have anything else. I don't know what to say. But to me, that goes back to my immaturity in the business. I'd been out of auction school 4 years. I really haven't had, I had jobs. I was in college, but the auction business was not my business. So this year, when I was asked those questions, I felt a little bit more at ease. Now, I still stammered around a little bit because I do that any day. But that was, to me, that was the biggest thing, the interview questions. And one of them at the convention this year, I felt like it was 3 pages long when you were reading it. And I thought, I'm not going to remember the first part of this question when we get done. And but that's a whole nother aspect. You got to clue in your listening skills. You got to clue in your everything to go into it. But it is completely different than the Mule Day deal, for sure.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with asking whoever's reading the question, to repeat the question. And
I had to.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sitting there, myself, JD, and Shane. Drew might have too. I'm trying to remember. All of us on that committee wrote questions. I think there was only 3 questions, so we all kind of wrote questions and figured out which ones we wanted to use. And that one was it was. I remember it. It was the first question that was asked, and it was a long, long, long question.
Mm-hmm.
But you all handled it well, and all of your answers were very good. The thing about being named a state association champion that I think is somewhat different from Mule Day, but maybe not too much, is as the champion, you're the representative, you're the face of that organization for the coming year. And
Right.
I wish people would take that more seriously than we do sometimes. Because we have a great opportunity as a state champion. You know, it's state champions, again, it's kind of like Mule Day. Everybody pats you on the back when you win, and then they talk about, oh, well, state contests don't matter. State contests are they whatever. Like, well, you have a great responsibility to be the face and the voice for an outstanding group of people. And again, I wish people would take that more seriously. So, Tucker, as the champion this year, is there anything that you've gotten to do with TAA? Any plans in the future for involvement, or how this title might be used to further the TAA?
Well, man, to be honest with you, no, I don't have any plans, and that goes right back to folks taking initiative and taking great pride in that state championship. I'd been only to the TAA conference one time before I come back this past year, and I did not realize the significance of our association. The auctioneer that I started with, he wasn't involved in TAA, and it's just to each their own. But I sat through some of those continuing education classes that next morning, and I realized what the Tennessee Auctioneers Association does for us. And I took it all for granted. I was, before this year and anything else, I was letting a small group of people work for every auctioneer in the state of Tennessee, as far as when it comes to fighting legislation or writing new policies or whatever. So my biggest deal is I want to make sure that anything that I do personally in my business or whatever else, somebody comes back and says, well, that guy won the state auctioneer championship. I don't want them to say it in a demeaning way. I want them to be able to smile and say, hey, this guy, he is transparent, he is trustworthy, and he is going to do good business. With that being said, as far as a state champion, of what I can remember, the year that you won this one and Mule Day together, you started this podcast, and it is, to me, that's what a champion's supposed to do. You're supposed to represent. You're supposed to spread the knowledge of others, and not that I have a whole lot, but I can talk. But what you do and what you're doing for this industry is far more greater than any other champion I've seen. And I appreciate what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. I enjoy doing it. There have been times where I've thought about not doing it, but I'm kind of with you. It's something simple that I can do to promote our industry. So that's what I want to do. But Tucker, there's going to be great opportunities for you to be the face of TAA and to get to serve in that capacity. You may not know it yet, but you will be on the contest committee.
Well, I was actually informed about that about a month ago. Our buddy Drew Williams, he called. He said, "Hey, buddy, you're on the contest committee." I said, "What's that? What contest?" He said, "Oh, for the TAA." I said, "Oh, thanks." I said, when did I sign up for that?" He said, "You got voluntold."
That's right.
Oh, okay. That's right. I love it.
Yep. And you will also get the joy of standing up in front of everybody, reading the mile-long interview questions and all the sponsor names and all that stuff. So work on your announcer voice.
I don't have a very good one of them.
Well, Tucker, we're about out of time, but I always end these with some rapid-fire questions. These are just simple 1 or 2 word or 1 or 2 sentence answers. And if you want to take longer to talk about something or share a story, by all means, go ahead. But got a couple of these here for you. What's the weirdest item you've ever sold?
I think we talked about it earlier, that rock screening machine. And now the baby dolls that we're having an online auction. I never thought I'd do that.
Don't you guys listening? Don't discredit baby dolls and
No.
Barbies. We sold a Grand Ole Opry Barbie for about $2,000 live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
live. Yeah, don't discredit those Barbie dolls. Tucker, this may not be the weirdest item that you've ever sold, but is there an item that sticks out in your head that when people find out that you're an auctioneer, that's your go-to item to talk about? It's just your favorite conversation piece?
Man, not really. There's several items that we've sold at auction that blow my mind at what they bring. We had a duck call auction last summer, and we sold duck calls $400, $500, $600, $700, and had one bring 1,600 or 1,800.
Wow.
We had a toy auction and had a toy tractor bring $1,400. But as far as an item that just really sticks out to me, I really don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing, and it's not even a part of my business. I went ahead. I helped David Fisher do a real estate auction this past December, and it blew my mind that he called me to come call this sale and sold $5.5 million worth of real estate. And I said, man, you trust me way too much. And he said, no. He said, I had to have you. And I said, no, I said, you don't realize. I said, it ain't coming through my hands. I said, but that money's coming out of my mouth. And I said, I don't know if I could do that. What if putting in his position, if I could call somebody and say, hey, if I did, I know exactly who the handful would be. It'd be you, my buddy Drew, and several, and David himself. But stuff like that, it just blows my mind in this business that what we do can raise that much money.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say that you had an auction and you had the option of putting it online or doing it live. And let's just say, for argument's sake, it's going to bring the same amount of money either way. Would you rather do an online or a live auction?
It depends. You can put on an online auction a little bit cheaper than you can a live auction because just as well as I do, your help costs money. But as far as what I enjoy, I don't like taking pictures. My wife's really good at taking pictures, but I would rather have a live auction 10-1 every day. And because that's why I'm becoming an auctioneer. That's it.
Yep. Tucker, is eBay an auction?
No.
Good job.
No. I mean, they can call it what they want to, but it's not an auction unless you got an auctioneer, man. That's it.
That's right. Tucker, we've talked to you a lot about contests and the joy of doing those. Why did you ever want to do a contest?
I don't know. I know when I started, it was about the title. It was about saying that I achieved something, and wanting to be a very good bid caller. And I feel like that's something that any bid caller's transgression. Like you're gonna try to be the best you can, and these contests have taught me a lot about myself, about my bid calling abilities, but my aspects of it have changed. I don't chase the title anymore. It means a lot to me to have a belt buckle from Mule Day Auctioneer Championship, but it almost breaks my heart that I can't go compete again. Because that contest, as well as the Tennessee Auctioneers Association, I get to interact with people. We get to buzz business tips back off each other. We get to talk and interact. I'm still going to go to them. I can't. I'll be like anybody else that's ever won either one of those. I'll still be back there every year and wishing we could have another one, But I think over the years, it's just kind of turned into making me better as a person more than the title or the buckle or the plaque,
Couldn't agree more, man. Couldn't agree more. What's one piece of advice you would give to a brand new auctioneer?
Stay humble, work hard, and go back to the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Man, I've dug myself holes where a buyer needed something or my clients, and it put me out. But at the end of the day, I would rather do that and do good business and go to bed at night than knowing that I could have done it differently and I didn't. So I'm going to say those three things right there are the biggest things in the world, because it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're going into a gas station to get a Coke, you're representing yourself as a professional, and remember that in everything you do.
Yep, I agree.
Like I said, what you do on Friday nights after hours matter. What you do on Saturday mornings matter. And as long as you shake folks' hand and look them in the eye and do right, I think good things will come your way, you know.
Yep, I agree 100%. Two more, Tucker. Aside from, and I've had to change this question because I get the same answers. Aside from Ralph Wade, Charlie Cummins, John Corey, and who is the other one? Oh, shoot. Shane Ratliff. Aside from those four, who are some auctioneers that you like to listen to?
Well, dadgummit. How come I can't pick any of them?
Because everybody else does.
That's right. Shoot.
They're the granddaddies. We can't help it.
They are. I would have to look them up, man. I listened to them Saturday night. I was at the rodeo in Lebanon, Tennessee. My wife and I rented up there. Then it took a little time, and I went out to the trailer and was scrolling through Facebook, and the Ocala horse sale come up. I watch horse sales and cow sales all over just because I like it. And I cannot think of his name. To Harold Brown. Harold, he is animated. He's raspy, and he will cut up and joke. And that guy, I could sit there and listen to him. You ask me all this, and there's another guy that Steve Frischkup. He's a big horse sale man, and he's the same way. I'm gonna say and they're both horse sale guys, so I don't even know if I should have picked a broader round, but them two right there, they're a joy to listen to because they will cut up, but they're down to business.
Yeah,
and it's pretty cool to listen to them.
Well, I'll tell you why I asked that question. I ask everybody that I have on this podcast who they like to listen to, because I want our new novice auctioneers who listen to this podcast to know we listen to other people. You know, we take from everybody, and you can learn from anybody. That's for sure. All right, Tucker, one last thing, and I'll let you go. I tell you what, would you sell something for us?
You betcha. I'm going to sell you a nice Kail Auctions pen. All right. I'm going to get $5, 10. I'm going to get 10, 15, 20. I'm going to get 20, bid 5. Good 5. I'm going to get 35. I'm going to get them $40. I'm going to get 5. I'm going to get 5. I'm going to be down 45. I'm going to find 45. Thank you. 50. I'm going to get 5. 55. I'm going to get 55. Ladies and gentlemen, you may see some today, but this is the only blue pen that the state champion auctioneers held right here. You're right. I'm going to get 45, 50. I'm going to get 5, 55. I'm going to get 55 on through and up. So $50. Thank you, sir.
I love it, man. Love it. And that's probably the most expensive pen that you've sold today.
Yes, I haven't sold anything today. So, yes, this was the most expensive pen.
I was going to say it might be the most expensive pen you've ever sold, but I don't remember how much the Duck River pen brought. But it's probably up there.
The Duck River. No, I think it brought $40 or $50. The most expensive pen I ever sold, I sold a pen that the Duck River Woodworking Club made, but it was 2 or 3 years ago in the finals, and it brought like $400. And I was like, oh man! Of course, you see everybody else sell theirs, and they might bring 50, might bring 100, and I don't know why mine got singled out, but it brought a whole lot of money.
I had one in the finals one year. It was a cigar pen, and it brought about $400 or $500. But it was one of those Duck River Woodworking pens. Well, Tucker, thanks for being on. I've really enjoyed this. I'm so proud of you and Nisha, and I'm so proud of the great work that y'all are doing. You're a great champion, and I'm proud to have you in the brotherhood of both of those contests. So with that, we'll call it a day. And if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. Next time you're in Lebanon in a rodeo, let me know. It's not too far from me. I'd like to come see you.
We'll be back in the fall.
All right, man. Well, with that, guys, we'll call her quits there and see you, Lord willing, next month. You've been listening to the Better Bid Calling podcast. If you would like to sponsor an episode, please contact us at betterbidcalling@gmail.com.